Hello guys, welcome to my channel where stories filled with revenge, moral lessons and love are told. Please make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you won't miss any story like this. My name is Maricel. I'm 32 years old now, but the story I want to share with you starts far earlier, in the crowded little brick house I grew up in on the south side of Chicago. From as far back as I can remember, I carried weight on my shoulders that my younger sister, Alina, never had to touch. It was almost like the universe drew a line between us the moment she was born, me, the responsible one, the dependable one, and her, the cherished free spirit who was shielded from consequences. As a child, I wanted nothing more than to feel seen for myself, not just for what I could do. But in my family, my worth was measured in tasks completed and sacrifices made. By the time I was 8, I was preparing meals for everyone while also helping with laundry. My parents would smile at me and say, "You're such a good girl, Maricel. Your sister is still little, she needs time to play." And so Alina played. She twirled around the living room with her dolls, sometimes with glittery ribbons tied in her hair, while I scrubbed dishes taller than me on a shaky wooden stool. That imbalance never shifted, it only grew heavier with time. At school, I excelled because I had to. Our parents told me, "Education will be your ticket out, Maricel. We're counting on you." They never said the same to Alina. Instead, when her report cards came back with CS and even DS, they brushed it off. "She's creative, she's not built for books like you are," my father would say, ruffling her hair. I wanted to scream sometimes. Why did I have to be built for responsibility while she was built for indulgence? When I entered high school, my routine became almost mechanical. Wake up early, cook breakfast, take care of chores, go to school, then rush to my part-time job at the local diner. Every dollar I made was handed to my parents without question. "We're saving for college," they reassured me, and I believed them, clinging to the idea that my sacrifices would one day lead to something better. Meanwhile, Alina had weekends free to explore ballet classes, hip-hop lessons, and even piano, all funded without hesitation. Sometimes I would overhear my parents talking about her dreams, their voices soft and full of pride. "Alina is going to shine. We just have to nurture her." And in the same breath they'd say, "Maricel will be fine. She's strong, she doesn't need much." But I did need something. I needed the same nurturing, the same belief, the same chance to explore who I was beyond the walls of obligation. I remember one particular winter night when the disparity cut me deeper than ever. Snow was falling hard outside, coating the windows in frost. I had been studying for finals at the kitchen table, while also helping prepare a holiday dinner. Alina burst in, flushed from the cold, wearing a brand new red coat. My mother had bought it for her after ballet rehearsal. It cost more than my entire wardrobe combined. I didn't even own boots without holes in them. Yet there she was spinning in the kitchen, squealing, "Do I look like a star?" My mother clapped her hands and laughed. "You're beautiful, my angel." Then she turned to me with an apron in her hand and said, "Maricel, have you chopped the onions yet?" Moments like that taught me my place in their world. Servant, provider. The one who kept things running while the spotlight always belonged to Alina. Still, I pushed myself harder. I graduated near the top of my class, securing a scholarship that covered part of my tuition for university. I thought at least then, finally, my efforts would be celebrated. But when the acceptance letter came in the mail, my father gave me a quick pat on the back and said, "Good. This is what we expected." When Alina landed a spot in a regional dance showcase that same month, they threw her a party, complete with balloons and a cake with her name iced in gold. The bitterness I swallowed that day stayed with me for years. Even in college, while juggling 2 jobs to make ends meet, I sent money home. My parents always had reasons they needed help with bills, with repairs, with Alina's travel expenses for dance competitions. I never refused. They never seemed to remember that I was surviving on instant noodles and cheap secondhand textbooks. It wasn't until my mid-20s that cracks in my blind devotion began to show. One night, exhausted after a double shift, I sat on my dorm bed and opened a letter from home. My hands trembled as I read it. It wasn't praise or encouragement. It was another request for money, with a note at the bottom. "We know you'll help. You always do." That sentence broke me in ways I didn't fully understand at the time. They weren't even asking anymore. They were assuming. I was no longer a daughter. I was an ATM, a bottomless well of sacrifice. Alina, on the other hand, flourished without carrying a fraction of the weight I bore. She tried a fashion design program and dropped out. She enrolled in culinary school and quit halfway through. Each time, my parents comforted her saying, "It's okay, you'll find your path." And each time, they funneled more money toward her pursuits. They called it supporting her dreams. I called it favoritism, though I never dared say it aloud. I think the moment I realized how deep the divide ran was during a family dinner in my late 20s. I had just received a promotion at the accounting firm where I worked, a job I had clawed my way into through sheer determination. I shared the news at the table, expecting at least a flicker of pride. My father nodded and said, "That's good, Maricel." Then he turned immediately to Alina, asking, "So how's your new project coming along, sweetheart?" She launched into a 20-minute description of her dance collective, and my parents listened with shining eyes, as though she were unveiling the cure for cancer. I sat there, silent, chewing my food with a lump in my throat. That was the night I realized no accomplishment of mine would ever be enough to earn the kind of admiration Alina received for merely existing. Even so, I kept going. I worked long hours, saved diligently, and built up a cushion of $75,000 over the years. That money represented my blood, sweat, and resilience. I saw it as my key to finally building a future for myself, maybe a house, maybe a business of my own. I guarded it fiercely. But deep down, I feared that one day my family would come for it too. Because with them, nothing of mine was ever truly mine. The storm finally came when I least expected it. I had just returned from a long day at the office in Chicago, my heels clicking against the hallway of my apartment, my shoulders aching from endless meetings. I dropped my bag on the couch and opened the fridge to reheat leftover pasta when my phone buzzed. It was my mother. Normally she didn't call unless it was something urgent, so I answered immediately. Her voice was unusually sweet, laced with the kind of careful tone she used when she wanted something. "Maricel," she began, stretching my name like honey, "we're all gathered at home tonight. Your father, Alina. And I want to talk with you about something important." My chest tightened. That phrasing "important" always meant sacrifice. Still, I sighed, put on my coat, and drove across town to the family house I had poured so much money into over the years. The lights were warm, laughter spilled from the living room, but as I walked in, I sensed the air wasn't casual, it was staged. Alina sat at the head of the couch, her eyes shining with excitement. My father cleared his throat and gestured for me to sit. "Your sister has been working on something brilliant," he announced, "and we believe it's time for the family to come together to support her." I tilted my head. "What kind of project?" Alina leaned forward, her hands fluttering. "It's called Soul Rhythm," she said, her voice bubbling. "A dating app that connects people through music preferences. Imagine finding love not by swiping left or right, but by your soul's soundtrack." She grinned as though she'd invented fire. I forced a polite smile. "That's creative. But how do you plan to build it?" She rattled off half-formed ideas about algorithms, playlists, and vibes. There were no details about market research, funding models, or even a developer. I was an accountant. I could smell holes in a plan from miles away. But before I could respond, my father slid a folder across the table toward me. "We need your help, Maricel," he said firmly. "You've been saving for years. Alina needs $75,000 to launch this. And you, of all people, should understand the value of investing in family." I froze. My heart pounded. "Wait," I whispered, my throat tightening. "You want me to give her my entire savings? Everything I've worked for?" My mother reached across, her hand brushing mine. "It's not giving, it's sharing. You're the responsible one. You'll make money again. But Alina needs this chance now. Don't you want to see your sister succeed?" The word responsible stabbed me like a knife. Always me. Always the one who could rebuild, recover, restart. Never the one who was allowed to simply keep what I earned. I shook my head slowly. "No. I'm sorry, but this is my future. This is the first thing I've had that's mine. I can't just throw it into something that doesn't even have a proper plan." Alina's face twisted instantly from excitement to rage. "You're selfish," she snapped. You've had everything, college, jobs, promotions. And now you won't even help your own sister chase her dream. I laughed bitterly, though tears burned behind my eyes. Everything? Do you know how many nights I worked double shifts to pay bills while you danced on stages funded by my so-called college fund? The room went silent. My father's brows are knitted. What do you mean? I turned to him, my voice trembling with fury. You promised me those savings were for my education. But last week, I found out from Aunt Teresa that the money was used for Alina's competitions, her costumes, and her travel. All those nights I thought I was working toward a future, you were funneling it into her hobbies. No one spoke. My mother lowered her gaze. My father's jaw tightened. Alina rolled her eyes. So what? You still got your education, didn't you? Why hold on to grudges when you could be part of something bigger? That was the moment something inside me cracked wide open. I realized I was not just underappreciated, I was exploited. To them, my entire life was one long resource. My hard work existed to prop up Alina's dreams while mine were brushed aside. I stood, my chair screeching against the hardwood. No, I said, my voice firm, stronger than I expected. I will not fund your fantasy. And I will not be your safety net anymore. My father slammed his hand on the table. How dare you speak this way? You are part of this family, and family sacrifices. I looked him dead in the eyes. No, Dad. I sacrificed. Alina indulges, and you both enable her. I'm done. I walked out that night with my pulse racing, tears streaming down my face, but also with a fire in my chest. For the first time, I allowed myself to imagine life beyond them. Over the next few weeks, I made a choice that terrified me and thrilled me all at once. I resigned from my job, sold most of my belongings, and packed the rest into 2 suitcases. I booked a one-way ticket to Seattle. When I arrived, the city felt like a rebirth. The air was fresher, the streets buzzing with people who didn't know my name, who didn't know my history. For once, I wasn't Maricel the caretaker, the provider, the dependable daughter. I was just me. I found a job at a mid-sized firm that valued my skills. The team welcomed me without baggage or expectation. On weekends, I explored Pike Place Market, tasted fresh salmon, watched ferries glide across the water. I even joined a hiking group, where I discovered the quiet joy of walking among tall evergreens. Each step a reminder that I was free. At night, in my small studio apartment overlooking the Sound, I would curl up by the window with tea and marvel at the silence free of constant demands, silence that belonged to me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving. I was living. And though my phone buzzed with unanswered calls and messages from my family those first few days, I finally turned it off. I needed space. I needed to learn who I was without being tethered to their endless expectations. That was how my escape began, out of betrayal, but also into something beautiful. 2 weeks after I'd settled into my new rhythm in Seattle, I decided to switch my phone back on. The screen lit up with a flood of notifications, messages stacked upon messages, missed calls stacked upon missed calls. 6 of them were marked urgent from my parents. My chest tightened as I scrolled through the desperate words. Please call us, Maricel. It's serious. Alina needs you. We're in trouble. For a long moment, I just sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the device as though it were a venomous snake. I had expected guilt trips, maybe cold silence, but this was panic. Against my better judgment, I dialed back. My father picked up within seconds, his voice cracking. Maricel, thank God. Your sister's app, it failed. Investors pulled out and now we're drowning. We used the house as collateral, and the bank is coming after us. We could lose everything. The words hit me like a wave. So it had come to this. The empire they had built on indulgence and favoritism was crumbling. My old instincts kicked in immediately. Fix it, rescue them, give until I had nothing left. But another part of me, the part that had been reborn among the evergreens and the salt air of Seattle, said no. I took a slow breath. Dad, I'm sorry you're going through this. But I can't just empty myself to save you anymore. There was silence. Then his voice rose, full of anger and desperation. How can you be so heartless? We are your family. I closed my eyes, tears slipping down my cheeks, but my tone was steady. Family doesn't mean one person gives until she's broken while everyone else takes. That's not love, it's dependency. I warned you this would happen. I begged you not to treat me like a safety net. You didn't listen. Alina grabbed the phone from him. Her voice was shrill. Maricel, please. I know I messed up, but I'll make it right if you just help me with this once. Don't let us lose the house. I almost laughed at the irony. For years I had begged for recognition, for fairness, for just a fraction of the support she was always given. My pleas had been ignored. Now here she was pleading with me. No, Alina, I whispered, though my voice shook. This is the consequence of choices, not just yours, but Mom's and Dad's too. You lived freely because they believed I'd always catch you when you fell. I can't do that anymore. If I do, we'll repeat this cycle until I'm drained and bitter for the rest of my life. The sob that came through the receiver was raw. For a second, my heart ached, but I pressed on. What I will do is connect you with a financial advisor I met through work. He's smart, and he'll help you come up with a plan. But my help stops there. You'll have to face this together as a family, not by putting it all on me. My mother's voice entered then, softer than I had ever heard it. Maricel, we never realized how much we hurt you. We thought you were strong enough to carry it all. Her words shattered something inside me. That's just it, Mom. You assumed I didn't need love or nurturing because I was strong. But strength without care isn't strength, it's loneliness. I'm tired of being lonely in this family. For once, the line went quiet. No accusations. No manipulations. Just silence that hinted at reflection. After I hung up, I felt both heavy and free. I spent the next few days helping them schedule meetings with the advisor, but I held firm. I didn't send money. I didn't step back into my old role. For the first time, the burden wasn't mine to carry. Months passed. My parents faced the brutal reality of nearly losing the house, but with restructuring, tight budgets, and uncomfortable truths, they began to claw their way back. Alina took a job at a dance studio, teaching children, earning her own income for the first time in her life. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. And slowly, their calls shifted. Less desperate, more human. Sometimes, just to ask how I was doing. The distance between us remained, but it was a healthier distance, one where I wasn't being consumed. I still lived my life in Seattle, still walked those green trails, still breathed freely. But when I answered the phone now, I wasn't doing it out of duty or guilt. I was doing it by choice. That, to me, was the truest form of revenge, not screaming, not slamming doors, not exacting punishment. My revenge was living fully, setting boundaries, and forcing them to see me as more than a resource. It was showing them that the daughter they had taken for granted had the courage to leave, to heal, and to return on her own terms. And though the scars of those years will never fully fade, they no longer define me. I am not the forgotten child in the corner of the kitchen. I am Maricel, the woman who walked away and found herself again. Moral lesson. Life has a way of teaching us through pain. For me, it took years of sacrifice to realize that love without respect is a hollow shell, and family without balance becomes a cage. I share my story not out of bitterness, but out of hope for anyone listening who feels unseen, unheard, or undervalued. Boundaries are not walls to shut people out. They are doors with locks, opened only when respect is present. By leaving, I gave my family the chance to finally see the truth. That strength doesn't mean carrying everyone else. It means knowing when to set the weight down. If you're watching this, let my journey remind you that self-love is not selfishness. Saying no doesn't make you cruel. Sometimes it is the first step toward being truly valued, truly free. So please take this with you. Choose yourself, even if no one else does. Because only when you do can others learn to see your worth. Hello guys, if this story touched you, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. And please comment your thoughts. I'd love to hear your own lessons.